what are the personal benefits of being vegan?
Okay, so, you know, maybe what we could do first is define what a vegan is. Yeah. So, and what Eve and I will be talking about, we think, is about nutrition and veganism, and you know, the personal benefits of being vegan, the society benefits of being vegan, and why women leaders should be vegan, and men too. But this is mostly a women's empowerment podcast. But what we wanted to say today is that. The definition of a vegan is someone who eats absolutely no animal products. So no beef, no pork, no chicken, no fish, no lamb, no honey, no eggs, no dairy. So it's a very pure diet. And in Asia, a vegetarian is the same as a vegan mostly. But in other parts of the world, a vegetarian, like here in my country, in Canada, a vegetarian still eats eggs or dairy. But in Asia, no, they don't. So that's why I'm just clarifying for everyone what Eve and I mean about being vegan. No animal products whatsoever. And we try to wear clothing that is not made from animals, handbags, anything in our home, no furniture that is made from leather or anything like that. It disturbs us inside our spirit. So I just wanted to clarify first with everyone on the podcast what a vegan really is. So in terms of the personal benefits of being vegan, when I look at my life, being a vegan for many years, not as long as Eve has been a vegan, but I find that the number one benefit is my health. First of all, I look younger than I am. Yes. I like that part. Fewer wrinkles. and definitely much healthier. So according to Newsweek, there was a study from the American Heart Association that found that a plant-based diet is the best choice for reducing your risk of heart failure, regardless of whether you have a history of cardiac conditions or not. And I really love the title of the article. The article was, Vegan Diet Decreases Heart Disease by Nearly 50%. Raj, that's huge, right? So
Right.
when we think about health, men and women and children, everyone should really be vegan, because vegans are the healthiest people on the planet in general. And we know from so many other studies that eating animal products is linked to other health problems, including cancer, diabetes, stroke, Alzheimer's, and even an overall shorter lifespan. And there's so many good books on the market today, but one of the ones that I love is called The China Study. It was written many years ago, and it was a study, I think it was Eve, do you remember 25 years or something? The study in China on, you know, the people who are eating vegan versus the meat eaters, and what happened to them health-wise. So it's so conclusive. Everywhere we turn, the World Health Organization also recently put out a study that said that processed meat is carcinogenic, just like smoking is. Yeah. And so many people are advocating that in the meat counters in our supermarkets, that we put little stickers that's, you know, like right now, if you go and buy some cigarettes, it says right on there, carcinogenic, right? In the supermarkets, we should say the same thing around meat and dairy. And another great website for your viewers to go to is the PCRM.org, the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, because they've done a lot of research of how the vegan diet is the healthiest diet. And they were the first group to advocate for vegan diets in schools, because in the average American school, they feed the children hamburgers and French fries and hot dogs at lunchtime. And those poor kids can't think clearly, right? They're putting all of that saturated fat into their bodies, and it's just not good. So Eve, what do you think about health? What's your personal opinion on health?
So yeah, I advocate for a whole food plant-based diet. So that is a vegan diet, but revolving around whole foods, whole grains, legumes, green leafy vegetables, berries, nuts, seeds, grains, all those sorts of things. So I think when we're talking about veganism, we do need to make that distinction that we could be a junk food vegan, we could eat chips and vegan cheese and vegan processed foods, but that's not necessarily going to give us all those health benefits that we're after. So it is important to remember, I think, that when we talk about being vegan and the health benefits, we really want to be eating the healthy, non-processed vegan foods.
Mm-hmm. But I still like chips. Every once in a while, I like chips, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I also like chips.
Yeah.
But I will try to eat soya chips. Soya chips. I will
soya chips. Oh, good for you. And my other weakness is chocolate.
Me also.
Chocolate, yes. But we're not going to tell Eve. We're not going to tell Eve we're eating chocolate.
I will try to eat protein bar chocolate most of the time.
Oh, well. Oh. Much better.
And I like too much Snicker also too much. It's very sweet chocolate.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can get those foods in vegan formats these days.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. This is the best time to be vegan because, I mean, I just saw on the news app that there were 7 hotels in the U.S. that are vegan, and of course there are many in Europe as well. Like the Loving Hut in Austria is a vegan hotel. Oh my God, I really would love to go there. So, but you know what? I believe in what Eve is saying 100% in terms of a pure diet, a plant-based diet. But for those people who are listening to us, and if they want to go vegan, we understand we all had to make that transition, right? So if you want to eat some chips, or if you want to have some greasy vegan burgers, or if that's what it's going to take for you to, I remember my husband, when he was going vegan, he said, Betska, give me something to chew. Give me something to chew. Make me something to chew. So I made him these vegan burgers in the big fat bun, with all kinds of lettuce and tomato and pickles, and so he had a good chew. But I was so grateful that he told me that's so we're really talking about transition, because a lot of people, if they hear us saying you have to go vegan, they go, oh my God, I can't do that. It's too big of a jolt. So that's why I love recommending people to go to the PCRM.org, that Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, because they have a 21-day Kickstart program. It's free, and you can learn how to be a healthy vegan there, and I'm sure they let you have snacks. So.
Yeah, and for the majority of us, we tend to circulate our meals, right? Yeah. So the majority of us will have very similar meals, for example, from week, and we'll rotate those meals to the next week. So when we are transitioning, it's very often just a matter of modifying some of those dishes, and we're going to eat those over and over again. So it's a lot easier than a lot of people think.
Yes.
There are the ingredients available. There are a lot more vegan nutritionists, dietitians, psychologists, cardiologists, gastroenterologists, GPs. So there are a lot more vegan professionals that people can even turn to if they've got any questions.
Mm-hmm. I love your comment about, we pretty much eat the same dishes over and over again from one week to the next, or every 2 weeks and so on. And, one of the things that I've advocated for years around the vegan diet, when you're creating a menu for yourself, like if you used to eat chili in North America, we love chili that has the ground beef in it. Well, instead of the ground beef, you add ground soy, or you add ground pea protein, or we have ground vegetable protein. You know, again, as Eve said, there's so many of these products, and they're delicious. You know what? They taste even better because they don't have that slimy, greasy stuff on the top. You know what I mean? So things like that, where, you know, we can. Last night I made sauerkraut and sausage. In the old days, it would have been a pork sausage. The thought of eating pork today is I just can't. But these are made from pea protein, and you know, they're processed, but they're still very good. They're low in sodium. Eve, one of the things I realized talking about health was I was getting really bad headaches for a while, and one of the reasons was I was eating. Whenever I ate foods that had a high sodium content, I would get a migraine. Wow. So, you know, even as vegans, we're always experimenting with our bodies and listening to our bodies and trying to purify our bodies so that we can live longer, live healthier and happier, more joyful. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of the foods that they're bringing out now do keep certain factors in mind, such as allergens. For example, those who are celiac or those who are gluten intolerant, you know, there are a greater range of foods that they can enjoy that are still vegan. And there are so many amazing ingredients to be discovered on a vegan diet, different berries, different seeds. Yeah. I mean, cacao, you know, to make things chocolatey, different vegetables. You know, last night I made a pizza base from split yellow peas in the blender with water, and it had this delicious doughy flavor to it. I mean, there's so much experimentation and joy that can be had in the kitchen. And so for that reason, I do encourage people, you know, experiment. There are so many YouTube videos. There are so many healthy ingredients, especially because not all vegans come to veganism for ethical reasons, for humanitarian reasons, for environmental reasons. Many actually come to the whole food plant-based or vegan diet for health reasons. And so when people are doing that, there are so many amazing ingredients to experiment with, and it's just so much fun. It's like a whole new world opens up. It's like all this discovery that can be had, and comparing recipes with friends, and you know, tweaking the recipes to find out if you do it a little bit different, how can it turn out. So I think that's a lot of fun as well.
And you know, the other piece I'd like to add here around that is that when I went vegetarian and then vegan, I started to taste vegetables for the first time because the meat creates mucus, and it was covering up my palate, my tongue, right? So I couldn't even taste a vegetable properly. Now when I eat a vegetable or fruit, my mouth feels like it's going to explode because it's so tasty. Yeah. So yeah, great. Thank you. I'd like to move on now to the second benefit of why I like being a vegan.
What's that, Betska?
Well,
the benefits of people being vegan.
The number two benefit, personal benefit to me of being a vegan, the number two benefit, and it has to do with animal compassion, and that animals have feelings. So this story I read, I cried my eyes out. I bawled my eyes out. It was a story about a steer who watched as his female cow friend was being put on a huge truck, and the truck was being sent to a slaughterhouse. The steer was so upset. Once the driver closed the door, the steer broke off his horns trying to open the truck door to save his friend. Oh my God. You know, animals have feelings, and animals are our friends. They are not meant to be our food, and there's no need for us to eat animal food. And Eve has just said there's so much out there too. The proteins are better proteins on a plant-based diet and so on. And you know, when I think about animal suffering, it goes all the way through to factory farms. You know, animals are subjected to intense and horrific abuse, you know, gruesome mutilations, cramped confinement and overcrowding, violent, bloody slaughter. If we treated just one dog or cat the way the meat, dairy, and egg industries treat billions of animals, we'd be behind bars for animal abuse. They'd throw us in jail, you know. And then the dairy industry is equally violent. For the dairy industry to get a mother cow's milk, they have to separate the mother cow from the baby. And I believe it's in India, I think I've got the statistic right, that when a mother cow and her baby calf are separated, around 50% of the babies die trying to get back to their mothers. They don't want to be separated. It's so heartbreaking. You know, imagine if women like us, you know, if our babies were taken away from us permanently, how would we feel? You know, as a mother, I simply can't fathom this pain. I would rather die than have that happen to me. It's brutal.
Just quickly, may I just add, when I speak to a lot of people aren't aware that for a cow to produce milk, the cow must be pregnant.
Yes, yeah.
So a lot of people that I speak to, they're just under the impression that cows freely give milk. But I thought it was a good time to chime in and just say that's not the case for anyone watching or listening. Cows need to be pregnant to create milk. So nature created cow milk for cow babies.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And there have been studies to prove that the cow's milk is really not for human consumption. You know, there are some nationalities, for example, where they are allergic to cow's milk. You know, it's just not healthy enough for humans. You know, so we can have almond milk and cashew milk and so many delicious nut milks. You know, so the other benefit for me being a vegan, this is number 3, has to do with mental health. And there was a Yale Global Health Review, you know, Yale, I believe, out of the US, that explained the kind of PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, that slaughterhouse workers suffer from. And there was a lady named Amy Fitzgerald. She's a criminology professor at the University of Windsor here in Canada. And she found a strong correlation between the presence of a large slaughterhouse and high crime rates in US communities. Very interesting. And on average, there are at least 17 severe incidents a month in US meat plants. So these injuries are classified as those involving hospitalizations, amputations, right? Or loss of an eye because they're working in a slaughterhouse. And amputations apparently happen on average twice a week. This is according to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. And then it will come as no surprise to anyone listening to this that the consequences of such emotional dissonance includes, you know, so if you're working in a slaughterhouse, and especially with the pandemic, I've been watching interviews with people who work in the slaughterhouses in Canada. So the consequences of working in those slaughterhouses are domestic violence, social withdrawal, drug and alcohol abuse, and severe anxiety, because a lot of those people don't want to work there. They are imported, you know, from Mexico, Philippines, or whatever, and that's the only job they can get. So they're forced to work there. And for them to watch all of these animals being killed in such a brutal manner, can you imagine that? So researchers are finally starting to systematically explore the results of killing sentient beings for a living, killing these beautiful friends of ours, animal friends of ours. And it certainly disturbs me that these workers have to suffer so much for no reason. They won't suffer like that if they work on an organic fruit and vegetable farm.
No. So, Betska, just with relation to your comments, yes, there is research that has been carried out suggesting that there is a high rate of post-traumatic stress syndrome in slaughterhouse workers. And the other thing that they've found that I just wanted to read out is it's like a type of post-traumatic stress disorder called perpetration-induced traumatic stress. So that type of stress is opposite to where someone has been a victim, but it's where they're actually the causal agent or the causal participant in creating that traumatic situation. So they are the reason for it. Yeah. And so these individuals live with the knowledge that they are violent day in and day out for their work.
Yeah.
And so just a little bit of it more information, if I may read some, just to add to your amazing research that you presented to us. In the US, yeah, there were 581 counties that were analyzed between 1994 to 2002. And Fitzgerald and colleagues, they found that the total arrests for violent crimes, including rape and sex offences, were actually increased amongst the slaughterhouse workers. Wow. So, yeah, so there were increases in sexual assault rates. Offences included things like sexual attacks, incest, indecent exposure, statutory rape. And so the question that we need to ask ourselves, I think, is do we want to continue putting these poor people in this situation where their mental health is affected and there are higher rates of domestic violence as well found in slaughterhouse workers? I mean, what are we asking them to do? They are really sacrificing their emotional well-being, their mental well-being, their family well-being for the job that they do to earn money. So my heart goes out to them, especially if they can't find another job. Yeah, I think it's really sad for them and their families. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, all we need to do is stop subsidizing the animal industry, right? I know here in Canada, we give them heavy subsidies for pork and beef or whatever, cows and pigs. And all they need to do is take that money and put it into organic vegetable and grain farms. Canada is the biggest importer of lentils. You'd think India would be, but Canada is the biggest exporter of lentils. Well, imagine if we introduced, I love lentils, and they're chock full of protein. And oh my God, Raj, you people in India, you know how to mix those spices so that, everything is so delicious, right? Your dals and your, oh man, I've got some Indian friends who teach me how to cook Indian. And, imagine if the whole world turned to pulses, as you say in India, like peas and beans and, lentils, and those are the healthiest proteins, and the body can easily digest them. So there's no reason, I'm going to be very blunt, there's no reason why we need to put all those people through these mental health issues. Those poor people in the slaughterhouses. But in addition to that, and I don't have this at my fingertips right now, but there was a study in Taiwan, for example, of young boys. They took a group of young boys, young ones, 5, 6, 7, something like that, and they divided them in half, and half they fed a vegan diet, and the other half they fed meat diet. And the ones that were fed meat, those boys were a lot more violent than the ones who were vegan. So it just, to me, it's a no-brainer. And, Eve tells us that she went vegan when she was 15, to the horror of her parents, right? Saying, I'm not eating meat anymore. But I took a much longer time to go vegan, and I really wish, but I had gone earlier. But I was born on the prairies of Canada, and I would come home from school, and my mother would have half a cow on the table, and she's chopping it up into roasts. You know, we didn't know any better. You know, and pigs and chickens and everything was jellied and frozen or smoked, and you know, you'd have a big chunk of meat on your plate and a little vegetable, right? And today, and then I had to watch, as this young girl, I had to watch as the pigs were being dropped into boiling vats of water to kill them, you know, like, or chop the head of a chicken off and they're jumping around, the chickens are jumping around in pain. So, you know, it's not just the mental health of the people in the slaughterhouses, but the mental health of the people who are eating the meat and the dairy. So I'd like to move on to, I've got two more benefits. There are loads of them, but and these other two are very short. The number 4 benefit of why I like to be a vegan is I don't incur karma. I don't incur karma from killing animals and harming the people who work in the slaughterhouses. I can go to sleep at peace at night, you know, peacefully at night, knowing that I'm reducing my karma. And with vegans, we do our best to protect all of life, you know. And then the number 5 benefit, and this is a big one for me, so it's not really in the right priority, but I have a robust meditation practice, and it's impossible to get to the higher levels of practice if you eat meat and dairy. It's impossible to get up there because meat and dairy have very coarse energy. The vibration is very low, very heavy, and it won't allow us to grasp the wisdom, the pure wisdom from heaven, yeah, from our practice. So, and I could go on. Eve, any other benefits you can think of for health here, or personal benefits, I mean, to being a vegan?
I think a lot of people that I speak to, veganism is, it aligns themselves with their meaning in life. It drives the way that they move through their life, in terms of, you know, radiating compassion, in terms of mental clarity, in terms of simply being the change that they want to see in the world. And so in that way, I find that it really empowers people. It drives them, you know. It's something that they can do quite easily. In many ways, it's a grassroots movement. And in many ways, the people that become vegan are the ones that are educating the wider public and getting the word out there. So I think not even happy, but content and fulfilled in life. You know, I think, and Betska, you're a master coach, you would know this, we have to start looking at, do our actions and our choices align with the person that we want to be and the world that we want to have?
Yes, that's very good. And, you know, I'll just maybe close this segment with a very sweet story. Here on Vancouver Island, we have the world famous Bouchard Gardens. And in the wintertime, they have a beautiful indoor garden with tulips and daffodils, and everything is glorious, you know. And they had a Japanese bridge, and they put these beautiful fish in the water. And so there was this, I knelt down on the bridge, and I put my hands in the water, and the fish came and kissed my fingers. They kissed my fingers because they knew I wasn't going to hurt them. I'm a vegan. I'm not going to eat them, right? So this man is watching. He said, oh, I want to do that. So he put his hands in the water. Well, they scooted away. And he said, well, how did you do that? And I said, well, do you eat meat? He said, yep. I said, there's your answer. These fish are afraid of you. Animals are afraid of you. So if you want to be friends with the animals, if you want them to love you and support you, go vegan. So there you go.
Yeah.